Hello, everyone. This is your trainer, Akash Sharma. I hope you guys are doing good and had a great day so far. Good afternoon to everyone. And we will be starting the session in 5 minutes once everyone joins in. And in the meanwhile, prior to starting the session, if you have any kind of queries, any doubts, any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Thank you. Okay, everyone. So today we are going to work with the concept of virtualization, which is in its own a very interesting concept where, as I've explained a couple of times in the previous sessions, we virtualize an sandbox environment. So I'll be showing you the demonstration on how you can virtualize your own environment and how you can configure it, optimize it, and even install Kali Linux by yourself. I'm going to tell you a couple of different ways of how to do it and the best way to optimize it for a better and efficient usage. So I'll tell you all of those in today's session. Okay. So as I've told you in the previous sessions, the virtualization, the concept of a VM a virtual machine is very simple. It is just to create a sandbox environment which can be used for testing purposes, which can be used for any number of purposes, right? We can run any applications, run malwares, run different scripts in there, and it does not affect our mainframe system. It does not affect that at all. So I'm going to show you a very fresh installation from the very scratch so that you all are on the same page in the same journey with me from the very first step, right? So that is what we are going to do in today's session. All right. So we'll start with the installation process for the software. Now, all this thing, the creation of a virtual machine will be done with the help of a software called VirtualBox. There are actually two softwares that are very well used, very infamously used. One of them is VirtualBox. The other one is called a VMware. If you understand the difference between the both is VirtualBox is first free, open source. And it's a little bit more easier, frankly, to use and configure. As compared to VMware, it is commercial. That clearly means there are two versions of it. Either it's a free one with limited usage or a paid one, definitely with expensive cost. Also, it's a little bit more complex as compared to VirtualBox because VirtualBox can work on all the operating systems, be it Windows, Mac, or Linux. But VMware only works in Windows. For VMware in Mac, you need to have something called a VMware Fusion, which is also a paid thing. You cannot do it for free. So all in all, it's a better choice to use VirtualBox because it's platform independent, open source, free of cost, simple and simple stuff to use. So that is what we are going to use today, VirtualBox. This is basically the software. What this software is going to do is going to create an environment for me. Okay, just like when you play a game, you install the game software first, right? You just don't start playing a game, right? Similarly, when you watch a movie, you need to download the movie and then you can see the whole pictures and everything. Similarly, to create the environment, you need to download the software. The software here is VirtualBox. The VirtualBox will install an operating system inside the software. Okay, you'll see the whole hierarchy here, how it works. So I'm doing this in my Windows. The steps are pretty much same. By the end of today's session, I will share you some documents which have a very specific step-by-step guide on everything that I'm doing today. So if you are afraid that you're going to forget something, don't feel that way. You will have everything with you. All the documents will be shared to you. And it's a very defined step-by-step guide for everything. So you're good to go, okay? For those who want to follow the steps right now, they are free to do so. I don't mind it. And if in case you feel any problem here, you can let me know and I'll try to help you out. So first we start with downloading the VirtualBox. You can go on their official website, virtualbox.org. When you Google for it, that's the first website that comes up. Oracle VMware, Oracle VM VirtualBox. So Oracle is a very famous company, or you already know about it probably. They create various kind of cloud applications and stuff like that. They're a software company, and VirtualBox is one of the product by Oracle. But the best part is it's free, it's non-commercial, they don't charge you anything for it. It's free for all. So as the definition says here, VirtualBox is a powerful virtualization product for enterprise as well as home use. Anybody can use it. It's feature rich, high performance for enterprise. It is also not only professional solution that is freely available as open source software. So that's the best part. So we'll directly go into the documents. I'm sorry, in the downloads. On the left hand side of the screen, you will see the downloads option right here. I'll click on the downloads part. Okay. All right. So when I click on the downloads part, I have a few options. I have for Windows, I have for Mac, I have for Linux. So that's the best part. Whatever you have, you can choose it, right? So I'll go for Windows and you will see it started downloading. I'm going to stop it because I already have it, so I'm not going to re-download it again. I have these softwares right here, you can see. Here is my VirtualBox, the latest version. I just downloaded it today, an hour ago for you guys. So once you have this thing with you, just make a double click on this thing, all right? Just a simple double click. Is it not visible on the screen? Type yes, everyone, if you can see my screen and you can see the files and everything. Okay. People are saying yes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm just going to make a double click on it and I'll open this file real quick. Okay, it's loading. I didn't knew it was going to take time. Okay, it's going to ask you like a permission thing if you want to click a yes or no, that you want to provide the permissions to install this. Always click yes. Once you do it, you will receive this kind of a small little box here. What's wrong with it? Give me a second. All right. Okay, there's something wrong here. Hold on a second, guys. I see. Okay. Let me share my other screen. It's not showing better on this one. This is a small screen I have. I have another one I'm going to share on that one. Okay. Okay, just a second. Okay. I was not really expecting it. Okay. There you go. Okay. You can see my screen now. So here is this file, VirtualBox Oracle VM. I hope you can see my screen now. Right. So I'll click on next. Okay. Here it's asking me to just confirm my setup. So I'm going to click next as well. If you want to do it in a different location, you can choose it. Otherwise, just keep the defaults available. Proceed with the installation. Of course, that's what I want. There are some missing dependencies. It will handle all this by itself. So click yes and click install and it will be good to go. So here it's going on. So let's just give it a couple of minutes or maybe less. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to work on Linux. So it's important that you see it, how it works and how to install it. So in case you want to practice this on your end, you guys can do it too. It's free and it's simple. So I'm pretty sure you will be interested as well. You can see I have the icon on my desktop right here, Oracle VM VirtualBox. Just click finish once it is done and we are good to go. It will open up the VirtualBox window for me. There you go. Okay. I'm going to remove it. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, all right. So this is a fresh start you will see on your screens as well. Whenever you will install VirtualBox, this is exactly what you're gonna get. You might have it in the white color, but my system is like a dark mode, so it's black, so don't mind it. So yeah, this is VirtualBox. Now let me just explain the elements of VirtualBox. This is the tool options right here. Okay, Chandana, if you're here, can you please also provide me the annotation option? I cannot annotate on the screen. Can you please provide me that? Chandana, can you hear me? Mr. Amar, anyone?
Yeah, Akash, what happened?
Yeah, in the Zoom application, there's an option to annotate on the screen. I don't really have it. Can you please provide me that?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Sure. Sorry to keep you waiting, guys. We're just figuring it out. I am glad you guys have a lot of patience. Thank you so much.
Akash, so you're not able to use that annotate option, huh?
That's right.
So yesterday it's there in the session.
Actually, it's not there from the very beginning, so that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, actually I'm also checking, but it's not there. I have to work from the backend, so it will take a time. So for today, you can use a
No
WordPad
problem.
or Notepad.
Okay, I'll see if I can
Yeah, sure.
figure it out. Thank you. No
For
problem.
tomorrow, I will arrange that.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay, let me see what I can do here. Just a second, guys. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. I really don't like it, but just a second. It will be really it will make it interactive. That's why I'm waiting, all right? Nothing else. You guys are amazing, by the way. I just want to take a moment here and appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to see that. Okay, almost there. Awesome. All right then. Let's begin. So in VirtualBox, we have this tool option. We have a preference, import and export to create a new machine and to add a machine. So the thing here is when we are creating new machines, we can do it with two ways. Either we can do it from the ISO file. Remember in the day one, I told you that ISO is the base file for an operating system. And day one lecture, I told you about this. ISO is a format for operating system, just like we have JPG and PNG for other files. ISO is the format for operating systems. When a system have nothing in it, there is nothing, there's a whole void, it's empty. You install an operating system, and from that's where you start getting an interface. Now, ISO is the file that helps you install that thing, just like exe files helps you install softwares, APK files are in Android, ISO files are for operating systems. Now, here's the thing. When we are doing it in a mainframe system, okay, that is when we can install ISO. That means this Windows operating system in my main system, in my mainframe computer, in my desktop, I can install it with ISO, okay? But when we are creating a virtual instance, a VM, that's a whole different game, okay? Here we can also create, how can I say? Pre-configured images. It is called pre-configured images. Now, this image is also absolutely not that photograph that you talk about that you upload on Instagram or something, or maybe on what's it called, Snapchat. But these pre-configured images are basically configured operating systems that can be moved from one place to another. Imagine that you configured a Windows operating system, you have it in your system, and then you took it somewhere else and use it there. It sounds really good, right? That it is really portable, it can fit in your pen drive, you can take your operating system wherever you want. You don't need to stick to one machine for that. You can literally take it anywhere you want. Wherever you plug in, you can use it. As simple as that. So these images have also a format. Just like the mainframe images have ISO, these pre-configured images have also various kind of formats depending on the software they run on. If this pre-configured image is developed for VirtualBox, they have a different extension. If they are, created for VMware, they have a different extension. It's almost like when we talk about video files, there is MP4 version. There is also AVI. Some videos are also in MKV. These are different formats, right? Like in images, we have JPG, PNG, right? These days, there's another one called uh, anyway, WEBP, right? So these formats have some variations, obviously, some differences are there, but ultimately they are used for video streaming, right? To play a video. Exactly in the same way, these pre-configured images also have the same purpose, but they use a different software. You cannot install a product of VMware into VirtualBox, and same goes for VirtualBox. You cannot install a product of VirtualBox into VMware. So they have very specific, distinct characteristics called formats. So for VMware, there is a format called the OVA format. Okay, it's short for, okay, I'm going to type it down for you guys. Okay, just a second. OVA is short for Open Virtualization Appliance. Oops. Okay, yeah. OVA is Open Virtualization Appliance, or Open Virtual Appliance, the same thing. Then there is, this is for VirtualBox, by the way. But if you use VMware, there is a thing called, the format is VMDK. And I'm being very honest, I don't remember. Yeah, nobody's going to ask you. An interviewer's never going to ask you. He don't really care if you know it or not. It's not that big deal. But the point here is, these are the two different formats that we have for both the purposes, as I just explained, for both the softwares. Okay. Now we already know that we are going to use VirtualBox. So it's obvious that we are going to choose a format for VirtualBox. But I don't want you to just learn one single thing and depend on it for your lifetime. I'll teach you both the methods, how to install from an ISO, how to install from an OVA. I'll teach you both the methods so that you can choose whatever you want to learn. Okay, so we'll start with the first method, the time taking and a little bit more complex method, which is with the help of ISO file. So obviously for that, we need the ISO file in the first place. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll go on Google, and what is the operating system I want to install? It's Kali Linux, right? Because that's what we are going to work with. We are hackers, not the bad guy, obviously the good guy. So I just simply Google Kali Linux. And the first thing that comes on the very top is kali.org, their official website. So I can either go on the official website and you can see all the kind of stuff like documentation and details and everything. But I am more interested about downloading this thing. So I can go on the download section. So here are two things that you can see that I just explained to you. One of them is the installer image, which is something that happens from the scratch, what you install on the mainframe system. But then there is another thing called a pre-configured, pre-built images. You see this word? Pre-built images. Now, these are the images which are configured for the software, especially for the software. So I'm going to show you how it looks like when I go. If I click on in the installer image, it will take me to this section where I can download it. You can download by clicking on this download button right here. It will download the file for you. Otherwise, if you go back and if you click on the, oh, what's happening? Yeah. I'm sorry. If you click on the virtual machines part, you will see it takes you to this section, which clearly says pre-built VMs on the very top. And here you can see it have divided according to the brand, according to the software that you're using. If it's a Hyper-V, it's a QEMU, it's VirtualBox or VMware. These are the four major platforms that we use for virtualization. The best one, according to my experience, is so far VirtualBox. So we are going to download it for that, right? So the download buttons are right here. You can see for all these softwares. We are going to do it only for VirtualBox. So we click on that and the download will take place. I am skipping the download part because I already have it. So I have saved all of our times, but you guys can download it in the backend, see what I'm doing, and then maybe try to replicate this whole thing. Also, for those who are joining right now, just to let you know, whatever I'm doing, every single step have been documented already. I'm going to share all the documents with you. There's a complete step-by-step guide along with the notes. So you're not going to miss on anything. In case if you forget some step, you can refer to those documents, okay? So please wait for that. But as of now, let's just focus on what I'm teaching. Okay. After this, okay, I also have, by the way, all the files downloaded. As I said, I have the VirtualBox version here. I also have the ISO file here. Now you might be thinking that when I said a VirtualBox version is OVA, why is it not an OVA? Why is it showing .7-zip? For those who are unaware, let me tell you a concept of compression. When there are big files, let's say a file size is 14 gigabytes. So you can imagine how long is it really going to take to download these files from a web server, right? So it takes really long time. So there is a technology through which we can really compress this file into a smaller size and then we can share it. So if this can be compressed into somewhere around, I don't know, maybe being practical, maybe somewhere around 4.5 gigabytes. So isn't that good? Because it will save time, it will save resources, and it will be more efficient. So when we compress the file, the compression changes the format a little bit. So there are two things to look into here. One of them is compression. The other thing is decompression, of course. Compression, decompression. I'm not here teaching physics, by the way, for those who are joining right now. So compression is done also with the software, and a similar kind of software can also decompress the files. When it's compressed, the size is decreased, right? When it's decompressed, of course, the original size is attained without any changes. There's no change in the document, in the format, in the actual data. There's no such kind of change. So that is the benefit, right? That's a great thing. So this format called 7Z or .zip or .rar, I can name a lot of them, maybe TZIP. There is also one called tar. These all formats are various kind of compression techniques. Okay, various kind of compression softwares basically. So a .7Z is also a compression type that is done with a software called 7-zip. So whenever you see this kind of a compression type or this kind of a format for any file, you can simply just understand that this had to be decompressed. Now you can use any tool to decompress it if only that tool supports a decompression of a .7-zip file. You can understand it this way. Let's say for movies, okay, I'm going to give you a good example. So take a look here. For movies, we have various kind of formats like MKV, .mp4. We also have .avi, right? In the older days, I think I don't know if how many of you remember, there was a format called 3GP, right? This was back in early 2000, 2005, I think. So now imagine that there is a software called the VLC Media Player. Obviously, it runs videos, right? We can see videos on it. But what if VLC Media Player only supports these three formats, right? So obviously, for this format, we need another software. But we cannot blame VLC Media Player for this, but because it is built that way, it only supports three formats. Or they can be choosy. They can only support even one format. There's a possibility. Similarly, for compression and decompression, softwares can be choosy. They can either work for all the format types or maybe selectively for a few formats only. So you have to just, do a little bit of research if your compression software or decompression software supports the .7Z format or not. Mostly they do, but they could be like a couple of, instances where they do not. So right now it is compressed. I just have to decompress it. It's pretty simple. I have a software called WinRAR, which is used for also decompression and compression. And WinRAR supports all formats. So it can work for all of them. It can compress in any format. It can decompress in any format. So it's like an all-rounder player. Okay. So you can also download it. It's just a suggestion. It's up to you which you use. So all I have to do is make a right click. Oops. Okay. when I click, make a right click, it shows me a WinRAR options, and I will select the third option so that it, just keeps everything in a folder called Kali Linux. Extract to Kali Linux. So it will just now start decompressing it and bring it to the original site. That I downloaded is almost gigabytes. Will how much it becomes after the decompression. Okay, that will be a good thing to look into. It's gonna take maybe a few minutes. In the meanwhile, I'll explain. For ISO files, there is no such requirement, by the way. I'm gonna make these icons look a little bit bigger. I think this is better. Yeah. Okay, much better. So for ISO files, you don't need such decompression. You don't need compression either. They are simple files, couple of gigabytes, maybe 2 or 3 GB at max. They're not that big, frankly. But after the installation, once everything is configured, they becomes huge. Okay. So this is almost 4 GB ISO file. And the decompression for the OVA file is still going on. So we'll wait for it. Sorry. Okay. Almost there. It takes time, guys. It's going to take the same time on your side as well. So we can't really do anything about it. Got to wait for it. Okay. So Santesh is asking, I have Kali Linux installed already. Is that okay to use for session? It's on VMware Workstation. I have no problem, buddy. Even if you have your main system with running Kali, I don't really mind it. So even if you have VMware Workstation, kudos to you. Awesome. Go for it. Okay, it's almost done. 64%. And I'm actually looking at the chat box. There's a lot of messages coming in, so I'm just trying to reply to all of them. Uh, if there is something worth discussing, definitely I'll discuss, but these are some, specific kind of doubts, so I'm just like replying in the chat box. So Rakib Ali is asking, what is Kali Linux all about? So Kali Linux is a Linux platform which is prepared in such a way that it is beneficial for security testing people, because it have all the necessary requirements. It have all the tools, utilities, software, scripts, everything is like pre-installed. So it's like you are a gamer, and if I give you a gaming room, so I think that's the best thing you would like to have, right? So similarly, if I'm a security tester, I need a platform which have everything for me, right? Which have all the tools. I don't need to depend on some other tool to be downloaded. It have everything that I need. I can customize it. I can, modify it the way I want. So that's Kali Linux. No, for those who are asking, you do not need to pay for WinRAR. It's a free software. They just ask you for donations, but you can ignore that. All right. Okay, so we have the VirtualBox OVA file extracted. And you see earlier, this file, when it was compressed, the file size was somewhere around 2.96 gigabytes. But after the extraction, we can see, oops, my bad. Mm-mm-mm. Why is it not showing the properties? Okay, after the extraction, it's almost 13 gigabytes. So that's pretty impressive, right? So it actually decompressed all the necessary documentation from in there. So if I just hover, you can see it. I don't know why it's not opening the property. It's 13.4 gigabytes. So that's how big a difference it created after the decompression. So first method, I'm going to teach you about the installation from ISO file, and then I'll show you how to do it with the OVF file. If I show you for a demo, oh, okay. It's showing right here. It's on the other screen was coming up. I'm sorry. So 13.4 gigabytes. Okay, there it is. My bad. Okay. So when I open this folder, which just got decompressed, you can see in here, we have the VirtualBox machine and virtual disk image. So here we have these files. When we start configuring it, it will create the OVF file and you will see it happen. So just wait for it. We'll start first with the ISO image installation. So let's just go with that. Here's our VirtualBox, the good and old VirtualBox. So what I'm going to do here is I'll click on new. This will start creating a new file for a new virtual machine for me. When I click on that, it shows me this option to give it the name and everything. So I'm going to name it Kali Linux. All right. I can give the folder where I want it. So I'm just going to keep it default. I can select the ISOs as well, where what ISO I want to select. So I have to look for the ISO in my folders. So that's what I'm going to do here now. I'll go in the downloads. There is my ISO. You can see Kali Linux.iso. I'm just going to open this thing. There you go. It already selected automatically. You see that it's a Linux and the version is Ubuntu 64. So it have already selected the default stuff that it requires, and that is good, right? So we're going to click next. Here is asking how much RAM do you really want to allocate to this machine. So I'm going to give it, you can give even more or even less. At least you should give 2.5 gigabytes. I'm allocating somewhere around 4 gigabytes, which is more than enough. And the number of processors, I think 2 processors will be good enough. I can even exceed more, but I think a couple of them is already pretty fine. It's up to the kind of specifications you have. If you have like 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes of RAM, you can easily give it, I think, 8 or 10 gigabytes. But if you have lesser than that, then give it accordingly. Always make sure you only provide 40% of your main RAM in your system. Do not allocate more than 40%, otherwise it will hamper the execution of the VM. Okay, it might lag or it might even get stuck. So it's better practice to only provide 40% of it. I have 16 gigabytes, so I'm just giving 1/4, which is pretty good enough. I'll click next. How much disk size? This is basically the size of your hard disk that it is going to create, you know. So let's say if I have 1 terabyte of space in my system, I can give out somewhere around maybe 70 GB of space, which will be pretty good enough to run this thing. So out of 1 terabyte, it will just take the 70 GB and create this virtual machine out of it. So I'm not really losing much, right? So I'm just going to get 70 GB and click next. Anything around 50 to 70 GB is pretty good enough. Okay, you will not need more than that. Trust me. I never needed that much. So it's pretty good. Now let's click finish once we are done with the configuration part. And you can see there is a new instance of Kali Linux showing up here. And the menu have also changed. If you'll see on the top right here, the menu have changed. When I was on the tools, it was a different menu. Now we have a new menu of setting and starting the session also. So either I can configure the settings of Kali Linux or I can start Kali Linux. So let's start Kali Linux and see how it works. I'll click on start. It will open a separate window altogether. You will see it. It's right now powering up. At the bottom in the taskbar, you will see a new window coming up. What is taking time? All right. Oh, there it is. It actually opened on my other system. I'm just waiting for it to load and I'll share you here. There you go. Okay. It's like this small little window just showed up. That's actually going through the installation part. Okay. Now the sad part is I can't make it bigger than this, but I have shared the screenshots of whatever I'm doing in the document. So you can refer to all those documents. So here's the thing, guys. Let me just explain you something important. Right now, this is my desktop computer. I have a mouse and I have a keyboard, which is connected to my main CPU, right? But I am not giving a new mouse or new keyboard to my virtual machine, right? So my virtual machine is also going to share the same keyboard and the same mouse that my main system have. So it's all dynamic allocation right now. So if I take my if I take my cursor in virtual machine, these devices are now belonging to the virtual machine. If I take it out of the virtual machine, if I come back to my main system, it's back to the main system. So that is how you will allocate and bring back your devices like your mouse and keyboard. So as of now, I am out of the virtual machine. You can see my mouse is in my main system right now. And whatever kind of clicks I'll make, it will not send it to the virtual machine. But if I go inside the virtual machine right now and I make a click in there, you see my mouse is now inside the VirtualBox. So if I make a click now, it will accept. I'll press enter. See, it worked. So the option was for a graphical installation. You have to just click enter and that's it. Nothing much to worry about that. If you see this bugger right here, this is the notification panel. This is really annoying. I hate about VirtualBox. Please click on this X mark, okay? Whenever you see it, just click on that X. Remove this. You don't need it. It's annoying. It's a lot annoying, okay? I'm gonna make it full screen and see if I can really show you the full size of it. Oh, better, much better. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, better guys. You can see it now. I'm pretty sure you can. So it's gonna ask you the basic stuff like, what's the language you want to work with. So of course we speak English. That's one thing. If you want, you can go with Hindi if you're really good with Hindi. Click continue. Selecting your location, it's your choice. I don't really want to take it to India. I'm gonna keep it US. It's my personal choice. You can choose whatever you want. The keyboard, same stuff. Click continue. Do not change it. We're gonna use American English on keyboard. Now it's gonna do the configuration part, scanning the media and everything. Okay, I think it's almost done. Now this is time taking, by the way, okay? It will take at least half an hour time, okay? I'm not going to show you all of it. I'm not going to bore you with that detail, but I'll show you the most of the important parts here, okay? And I would want you to also do it on your systems as well at the same time. So you guys will have the practice of it and you will have it by tomorrow when we'll be having another topic with us. Loading additional components. All right. Simple stuff. Nothing to worry about. So it's just configuring everything in the background. So you saw it was also configuring DHCP that we just learned about yesterday, right? So here the host name, I'm going to keep the default. If you want, you can change it to whatever you want. I can change it to terabyte. It's kind of like my alias name. And I'll click continue. Keep it blank. You don't need to add a domain name here. Here it's going to ask you for a username. I'm going to type terabyte. Click continue. Username for the account, of course, that's what I want. Here's the point of password. I'll put a password, simple password. I don't need to make it real complex. In case you forget, it will be troublesome. So keep it simple, doesn't matter. My password is root. Simple, right? Continue. So here it's going to ask you the time zone according to the country you're going to select. I selected US, so it's asking me the time zone here. I'm going to select the Eastern time zone. I don't really care about it. It's not going to even matter, trust me. You're never going to see the time in your virtual machine. You already have your main machine for that, right? But if you're that kind of specific person, then you can definitely go for the Indian time zone by selecting the country as India. Okay, here we have the disk partition. Now, what's going to happen is Kali Linux before installation, actually, for that matter, any kind of operating system, when they are installing on your hard drive, okay, they ask you if you have partitions in your hard drive or not. And would you like to, install it in a specific partition or not? Sometimes we create different sections in a hard drive and they are just being a gentleman, and asking if there is any kind of like specification or a choice that you have. So I don't have a partition. I don't have such kind of a choice. I have allocated 70 gigabytes and I want to install this thing on the whole system, on the whole hard drive. So I'm going to click on guided use entire disk. It is not going to take the entire disk of your main system, okay? It's just going to take the disk that you have allocated as a virtual disk. That's 70 GB space. It's just going to do it on that. So don't need to worry about it. So select the first option, keep it that way, and click continue. Select this option. It's just a partition showing up. You can see it have allocated 75 gigabytes. All right, no problem. So it confirms the same selection that I wanted to make. I'll click continue after this. Okay, I want all the files in one partition. That's how I like it. No problem. Click continue. I'm just going with the defaults, nothing much. All right, so no rocket science here. Finish the partitioning, write changes to disk. This is the final step. You're just giving a good green signal. Click continue. It next asks you a yes or no, that you really want to do it or not. I mean, it's just like double checking. So you have to select yes, and then go to the continue part. There you go. Partitions formatting. Okay. Installing the base system. Now, this point, this phase of installation is going to take time, okay? It will take anything around 15 to 20 minutes, at least. That's the least I'm talking about. Although I've given it like 4 GB of RAM, I think it will work a little bit faster. If you have allocated only a couple of GBs, maybe 1.5 or 2 GBs, it will take a real long time. So I think this should work sometime pretty soon. Let's wait for it. In the meanwhile, you guys can also try the installation part and see how it works for you. And I just felt I should have given more than 4. I should have given it 8 or maybe 10. But it's okay, no problem. What's done is done. Although in the installation part, you cannot increase the RAM, but after the installation, you can increase as much you want. If you have made a mistake just like me, I am a silly guy, I made a mistake. You guys can also do it, maybe. Or maybe you guys are really perfectionist. But if you have done so, you can increase the RAM later as well. I'll show you how to do it, okay? Don't worry about it. Okay, this is going to take time, so I'm going to take some questions. So if anyone want to take a break, maybe for like 4 minutes or 5 minutes, have a glass of water and get back real quick. Don't go for too long. I won't continue this break for a real long time. So be back in 2 minutes if you want. Also, this is a good time if somebody want to discuss anything with me. The chat box is always open. I'm just looking at it. Oh, I have a lot of messages. Mr. Rakib, I think you have not attended the previous sessions. Please do attend the video recordings. For anyone who is having doubt with these basic stuff, please do attend the previous recordings. I've already taught everything about VirtualBox, about Kali Linux, what is a VMware, what is a virtual machine, right? I've already gone through all that basics. So please do attend those sessions. And just to give you a baseline information, VirtualBox is a software that is used to create virtual machines, right? To create virtualized environments that is used for testing purposes. So that's VirtualBox. Sandesh is asking, what uses of Kali Linux are there for the normal user? Frankly, there's none. Okay. If you want to get a good hold of Linux, okay, if you're a normal user, you're not a hacker, right? And you need a Linux platform to learn Linux in the first place for the technical aspects. Go for a platform called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is real simple, really good. There's another one called Zorin OS. You can also go for that. It's a little bit commercialized one, but it's pretty good. There's another one called Linux Mint. You can also learn on that one. These are some basic feature Linux, they're not that technical, they're not that geeky. Simple stuff, simple to use, normal interface, but they are Linux. So if you really want to get hands-on Linux experience, go for these ones. The best one is Ubuntu. Trust me. Ubuntu is the Windows of Linux. That's what we call it. So yeah, you can use Ubuntu. So Dhanwaj is asking which one I suggest, VMware or VirtualBox. Personally speaking, I always prefer VirtualBox. But again, when I work with corporate clients, they don't prefer VirtualBox because it's open source. They prefer something more licensed. So they go for the commercial tools like VMware. So it's a good thing if you have experience with both of them. But my personal preference is always with VirtualBox. But in corporate environments, I have to deal with VMware also. So you need to have a hands-on experience on both. So that's how it is. Okay. Okay, quickly, everyone, for those who are new and for who is already here, type yes in the chat box if you have used Kali Linux before. I want to see how many of you already have. Yes in the chat box if you have already used Kali Linux before. Okay, a lot of people have already got a little bit of experience. Okay, Sandesh is asking what are the features of Linux? Okay, so see, when you talk about features, Linux, first of all, is open source. That means anybody can contribute, anybody can edit, modify whatever you want to do. It's flexible and it's free. So you can create your own applications. It's platform independent. That means you can run any kind of scripts, any kind of codes in there. It is not depending or limiting you with any kind of feature or any kind of functionality. You can create your own functionality, create your own programs, your own modules that you run in the background. So there's a huge flexibility that is provided you here as compared to Windows and Mac. They are commercial softwares with very limited functionality and usage, but Linux altogether is a game changer. So that's why we all prefer Linux when we are working with technical stuff. For normal users, obviously Linux might not sound as, you know, big of a thing because they are not interested in the technical aspect of it. So it's better you stick to Windows or Mac. Mac is a good option for you guys in that case. If you do not want to get into technicalities of Linux, then go for Mac. Mac is the Linux of the normal people. So that's what I call it. But it's commercial and paid and overrated. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will agree with me. Okay, we have something here. All right, now, okay, important thing, guys. Okay, focus. It's asking you something which is a desktop environment. Okay, you can customize it by choosing a different desktop. Okay, so an environment is how the interface is going to look like. So please keep it default. You can definitely experiment later when you have a good knowledge of Linux. As of now, you don't. Keep it default. Do not change it. Do not tweak it. If you know what you're doing, you know what these things are, go for it. No problem. These are some desktop environments. They make the way how Linux looks. So keep it default. Just go with this regular stuff and click continue. Do not change. If you know what you're doing, go for it. Okay, Mr. Rahman is saying that does the memory dedicated to VirtualBox reduce the memory available to Windows only when running a VirtualBox or all the time? Okay, so here's the thing. When we talk about the runtime memory, or in short, talking about RAM, okay, RAM definitely will only be dynamically allocated. But if you talk about the hard disk, definitely it will be statically static allocation is there. What I mean by this is when 70 gigs is given out of 1 terabyte, that 70 gig is lost because it is now completely allocated to Kali Linux. It's going to be there. The files have already taken space. But every time you will run the virtual machine, and if you, let's say, if I have 16 gigs and I have allocated maybe 4 gigabytes of my RAM, this 4 gigabytes will only be allocated to the virtual machine when the virtual machine is running. Otherwise, it is with my main system. So RAM is dynamically allocated, but the hard disk is static allocation. Although you can also allocate it dynamically, but I don't really recommend that. It makes it really unstable and there's a chance of data loss. So for the virtual machine, you might lose the virtual machine data. So it's better go for the static allocation. It's more stable that way. So that's a difference. Okay. So this is installing softwares. It's going to take a real long time. So in the meanwhile, let's take a few more questions from you guys and let's wait for it to complete. You guys also give it a try on your end. If you face errors, you face difficulties, let me know. I'll try to help you from my end. And also, okay, give me a second. Let me figure out a way to share the documents with you so you guys can also have like a step by guide. Right, just a second. Okay, I'm sharing the documents with the team. I'm pretty sure they will share it with you as well. So good luck for that. There you go. Okay, it's all. I've shared the documents. You'll be getting it pretty soon on your LMS, so you can see from there. Okay, I can see the files are almost retrieved. So we'll just wait for the decompression of these files and then it will be good to go. By the way, I'm using a stopwatch right here just to see like how long it's taking so that I can show you for comparative analysis. It's already been 17 minutes, by the way. So you can see this unpacking and in solution, it's like doing it for all the background scripts and tools and utilities. So we just downloaded all of them and it's now just installing everything for me. For those who are asking the link for the Kali Linux download, I have already shown you that, but I will be sharing the link for the download. You can go and select and download it for yourself. I'll be sharing the link in the chat box for everyone. There you go. Okay, this is an announcement for all. I am answering all the questions proactively on the chat box, so you can participate in that if you want. If you have any queries, even from the previous sessions, I am happy to entertain. Okay, I'm getting really funny questions here. Okay. Okay, all of you must be receiving the documents in your LMS. Kindly do check out the links that have been shared to you by the team. Those documents include everything. So please have a look and refer to those documents who are having a little bit of confusion. All right, there you go. The links have been shared, guys. Do have a look at them. All right. Refer these documents. They are important. For that matter, I will be actually helping them upload all the documents that are necessary so you guys can have them all. Okay. All right. Please visit these links that have been shared by the team in your chat boxes for the drive. You'll be having all the documents so far that we have been working with. Later on, after this today's session, I'll share some more documents for the team and they will upload it all in here. Right. I'll help them create folders for different topics that we are covering up. So you have everything with you. Whoa, okay, a lot of messages. I just missed them. All right, no problem. Okay, in the meanwhile, this is taking place. It is still going to take a lot of time, right? So why not look at something that happens quickly, right? As soon as I can make this thing happen, whatever you call this in English, I'm not sure. With the blink of an eye, that's a good example. All right. So I'm going to show you an example which will install Kali Linux in literally less than 2 minutes. Less than how long will it take for you to prepare Maggie? So you have to click on the tools option on the top, right? Like when I'm in Kali Linux, when I click on Kali, the options that are shown on the right are for Kali specifications, right? You can see all the system details and everything. I don't need to work with Kali right now. I need to install a new thing. So I click on the tools option on the top. The whole thing changes, right? I'm back on the main screen of VirtualBox. Here, I'll select a specific option, which is to add. Okay, I'm adding a new machine in here. See what happens now. So it's asking me, what do you want to add? What kind of file you want to add here? So I'll go in the downloads folder, select the select the Kali Linux folder that I just extracted. If you remember, a few minutes ago, we did that. Open this, open the folder. Here I have the file, the VBox file. I don't need to explain much. VBox is the virtual machine that is used for VirtualBox, right? So select that, click open, done. That's it. How long did it really take? Even less than 2 minutes, right? Isn't it? Of course, I took long to explain you guys. If I would have skipped that, it would have taken maybe even less than that, maybe less than 2 minutes, maybe less than a minute for that matter. My point here is this machine is pre-configured, right? Pre-built. Everything is already done for me. I just have to download, extract, install. That's it. Not even install, just add. So the difference is when you work with the ISO files, you have to download them, of course. You have to install them, which is really time taking. You've already seen how long it's already took okay, officially it have taken more than 30 minutes now. So you guys can see that. So the installation time is real long. On top of that, the configuration part is still remaining. We still have to configure a few steps in the ISO installation. But when we talk about this pre-built VM, simple, download and extract, add, simple. And this whole process of downloading, extraction, and adding, if your download speed is good enough, if your PC speed is average, I'm not saying good enough, even average, this whole process will take less than 7 minutes. And I have calculated that. Less than 7 to 10 minutes, you will be having this. Otherwise, if you go with the ISO file installation, it takes more than 30 to 40 minutes sometimes. In our case, it is still going on. You can see it is not even 50% done. It's still going to take a lot of time. So it's still in the process, but here with my pre-built VM, I already have my Kali. I can start it, it will start running. Nothing else is required. But here is the problem with pre-built VMs, there are pre-built configuration. They are not asking us for our choices, there's no selective choice. So what we can do is we can modify the settings. As I told you in this Kali Linux that we are installing by ourselves by an ISO. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I told you that we can upgrade the RAM after the installation, right? Similarly, the installation is done for the pre-built VM. We can just upgrade the RAM. So all I have to do is click on the settings. In the settings option, I have all these options. I'll go in system. Okay. Here I have the option to upgrade the RAM. So I'll upgrade it. I'll make it somewhere around 6 gigabytes. I can also upgrade the processor by clicking on the processor tab. I can upgrade it, but I think it's already good enough. In the general settings, I can change the name of it, make it Kali Linux VM, because we already have another instance with the name Kali Linux. So make it Kali Linux VM just to differentiate. And here is the thing, in the version part, you have to remember this, by the way. Write it down somewhere or whatever you do, I don't care. But remember this, for a stable version, stable usage with pre-built VM, do not leave at Debian 64. It is very unstable. I have experienced it. Always choose for Ubuntu 64. The Ubuntu version is much better, much stable, much efficient to work with. I don't have a technical explanation that can be explained in a simpler terms, but as of now, just go with what I'm telling you, because it is more, it comes out of experience, because if I start going in depth of the reason, it will go like complete bouncer to you guys, trust me on that, because then I have to explain how the Linux kernel works, Linux backend stuff works, which is not a part of this curriculum right now. So let's just understand the Ubuntu one is much stable. So let's just select that. Ubuntu 64-bit version selected. It's in the list. I mean, you can just scroll up and down and just select it. Simple stuff, nothing much. And then click OK. Simple. When you click OK, it's all done. So my Kali Linux ISO is still installing, still going on. but my Calyx VM is up and running. So I'll click on start. Okay, before that, I will stop this installation for now because we have already seen it's taking a real long time. So I don't really want to go through that. I'll just give you a quick introduction to Kali Linux, how it looks like and what kind of stuff is there. Or you know what? Let's just keep it this way. I have enough RAM. I'll run this also. Okay, so let's take a look. So as of now, if you understand, I have 16 gigabytes of RAM in this system altogether, out of which 4 gigabytes is given to this one and 6 gigabyte is given to this one. So out of 16 gigabytes, my 10 gigabytes of RAM has already been pre-allocated to these machines. So that's how it is. Not 10 altogether, but at least the dynamic allocation is going on in the background. So we'll keep allocating as much as we use it. So I'm going to, if you see this small screen on your side also, it's very simple. Click on the view, click on virtual screen and increase the scale of it. Sometimes it comes with real small scale. You can increase it, make it like 200 or maybe even bigger if you want something more bigger. Maybe 250, it's pretty good enough. Make it even bigger, make it 300. It's like become more enlarged version. So if in case it shows like real small, click on view and then click on virtual screen and then make it bigger. Simple. Or you can click on auto resize guest display. It will also resize according to your guest display monitor. So yeah. Let's wait for it to boot. And by the way, this is all pre-built. It is not installing anything. It's just starting from the from the place where it have already been built. And this Kali is still going on, and it's already almost 38 minutes. Okay. So we'll keep it aside. I'll keep it on the side, and I'll have a tab on it on my other screen. Okay. Okay, let's wait for it to load. Give me a second here. There's a hand raised I can see. If you have a query, please ask that in the chat box. I'll really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, it's turning on now. So let's wait for it. Okay. When you see this kind of thing, that means your Kali is booted. This is the login screen for your Kali Linux. Now, when we were installing by ourselves, we created the username and password, a customized username and a customized password. But here it's asking for a username password. This is a default password that you get from the official website. It's Kali and Kali, Kali. Same is the password, Kali. Simple stuff, nothing complex. Just click login. There you go. You have your Linux up and running. Well, let's make it full screen. There you go. All right, so this is the interface for Kali Linux. You can see that. Now, this is an operating system that is running inside an operating system. So that's really cool, isn't it? We have a lot of options here to work with. I will be taking a few minutes just to explain the fundamental usage of it. Of course, the commands I'll take up tomorrow. I'll teach you the basic commands, the fundamental interaction commands. Today, we are just working with the virtualization and installation. So you can also understand what it is. Now, before I proceed with that, I want to explain you a concept which is called hypervisor. What is a hypervisor? Let me explain you this. Just a second. Let me just get some notes for you. Okay. Never mind. We'll just work without him. So a hypervisor is nothing but a VM, something that creates virtual machines, or we also call them virtual instances. Same stuff. Okay. Virtual machines or virtual instances. That's a hypervisor. There are two type of hypervisors. One of the hypervisor is hypervisor type 1, and then there is type 2. Now, type 1 hypervisors creates virtual machines or create machines on the mainframe. Now, this is mind-boggling, right? We don't call it mainframe, actually. We call it bare metal. Type 1 creates on bare metal. Type 2 creates on softwares. Now, what do I mean? Imagine that your system, your laptop, okay? Let's say you have a laptop which do not have any kind of operating system at all, okay? So what you do is you install a type 1 hypervisor which will create various virtual machines in the laptop, okay? You don't have an operating system, but you just installed a hypervisor which will create various virtual machine. So now what you're doing is you are using that laptop to create multiple virtual machines, and you can use the laptop as a server. Type 2 hypervisor is just a software that can be installed on any operating system, and then you can create a virtual machine inside a machine. So when we talk about a hypervisor, it will be really unfair if I don't give an example of this amazing thing called the Proxmox. I'm not sure how many of you know about it or how many of you researched about it. but you should. If you have not, trust me, you're missing out on a lot. Proxmox. It's a server solution basically. And what Proxmox will help you is it will help you create a hypervisor one. Okay. For this, definitely you have to sacrifice one of your laptops. I have actually one at my home right now. I have a Lenovo IdeaPad 510. That laptop was never being used. It's a really old laptop, but the specifications are good. I upgraded the RAM. I have 32 GB of RAM. I have i7 ninth generation, so which is pretty good enough. So I have Proxmox running on it, and I can install as many virtual machines as I want. I have 1 TB of hard disk, so I can install as many virtual machine I want, and I don't have to give the allocation from my main machine. My main desktop is completely free to use, right? I have a server that I can connect to whenever I want. But again, for this, you need a different laptop, which in most of the cases is not, that feasible. But you can create this kind of a situation, this kind of a hypervisor. If in case you have the resources, you can go for it. Otherwise, buy a cheap laptop, make it a server, and use that one. I'm going to show you a demo for the Proxmox. This is how it looks like. This is my Proxmox interface. You can see I have these many Linux and Windows operating systems up and running here. On the right side, you can see these many operating systems I have. To all of them, I have allocated at least 4 GB of RAM. So imagine all of them running at the same time, and my system, my main system, is still free, right? I don't need to allocate the resources from my main system. So it's totally somewhere else in my network only. It's in my home network. It's my own laptop, which is always plugged in with the Ethernet cable, with the power cable. I never turn it off. It keeps on running all the time. But the point is, it is serving as my server. It's a Linux. It's basically a VM server, right? So isn't that interesting? You can definitely do a little bit more research on this. What is Proxmox? How it works? Proxmox is a commercial software. It comes in both paid and free version. But trust me, I am using free version for years now. Never felt the requirement to pay for it. Although the amount is very nominal, but still, you don't need to pay for it. I haven't never paid for it. So yeah, so that's the best thing. And you can see I have Kali Linux up and running in this one as well. It just connects with it, and I will be having my Linux up and running in my browser. Although it's actually running on the device which is over there. You can see this is the IP that I'm connected with, 192.168.1.14, and the port number that I'm connecting is 8006. So this is the device in my own network, and through that device I'm able to use Kali Linux. So this way, my system is completely free. Main system is all good, and there is another server that is running which will do all the stuff for me. So that is also something that you can look into. Proxmox is really amazing if only you have a laptop to sacrifice. So if you have it, go for it. Otherwise, use VMware or VirtualBox that I just showed you today. VirtualBox is also free to use. You have good enough RAM. You can allocate some RAM to it. It's your choice. If you are interested for some cool project to work with, go for Proxmox. You will get some errors. You will get some issues. I mean, Google is free, right? So do your research on Google. I learned the same way, so I'm pretty sure you guys will too. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, now we can work with Kali Linux. Let's just give it time to boot it. I'll turn off my Windows right here. Okay, now a major difference I'm going to tell about Linux and Windows is in the usage of it. So when you talk about Windows and Mac, they are majorly based on something called a GUI, which is short for graphical user interface. Now, the problem with graphical user interface is that you don't get to customize it as much as you want. GUI is short for graphical user interface. What it simply means is, like, when I'm using Windows or Mac, I get certain kind of icons, certain options. I can click on those things, and that's it. It is very limited functionality. It is very specific to what the manufacturer is providing me. I cannot create my own stuff. But when you talk about CLI, it is free from all these graphics. It's more efficient, it's more technical, it's more flexible, because this is command line interface. In this kind of an interface, you work majorly with commands. You will be given a small black box like a terminal, like you have in Windows. You have command line. In Linux, you have terminal. You can execute as many commands. You can simply, literally, just talk to the computer. With these commands, you're talking to the computer. You're describing what you actually want with the computer, and in response, you get a reply from the system based on what kind of output you are expecting. So that's more efficient, because this way you can configure and you can troubleshoot more with the system. You can explore more possibilities of adding new features, creating new modifications. So that is why we prefer always CLI, the command line interface. Although Kali Linux also have GUI to it. You can see these are some icons I can click, I can open stuff, but I always prefer to use the terminal for everything. When you get used to it, trust me, you will never go back. And then trust me with this. Once you start to get the hold of it, you will never want to go back to Windows. You will hate Windows. But I have to use Windows for like professional use and corporate use. So here we are. I have another laptop with me, which is an HP, which is based on Linux only, which have Linux running on it. So you can also see if you really want to install Linux on your main system, if that satisfy your requirements. Okay. All right. So yes, guys, that's it. Actually, that was all for today. We have understood what is Kali a little bit. Actually, we have not gone through into the depth of it. Tomorrow, I'll teach you the basic commands, the functionalities of Kali Linux, how to use it, how to interact with Kali, and how the memory system works, and all those kind of stuff I'll explain tomorrow. Today, we just understood different kind of hypervisors, different kind of virtual machines, different operating systems, formats, and everything else. So that was the agenda for today for hypervisors. I also gave you a bonus topic to research, which is Proxmox. Do your research on this, bang your head on the screen. I'm pretty sure you'll learn new stuffs. And that was all from today from my side. We have reached the end of the session. If there is anything that you want to ask, please put them in the chat box. If there is any query, I can see there are a few messages regarding the doubts about the installation part. Please refer the today's session recording. I have explained every step-by-step guide. I've shared the document also. Refer those documents, see how things are working out, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the hold of it. And if you have not joined from the very beginning, it's okay. You'll have the recordings with you on your LMS. You'll have everything, so you can always revisit and revise all that. Tomorrow, if you have any doubts for today, you can ask the questions as well. We'll keep at least 10 minutes time to take the previous doubts, and that's how we can do it tomorrow. No problem. All right. Let me just quickly answer some questions here. Okay, there's a lot of them coming up. All right. Yeah, also guys, the link have been shared to you for the feedback and the attendance. Please do provide the attendance and the feedback. It is really important for us to maintain the record and maintain the efficiency of the session as well. It helps me to see how I can improve myself and give you a quality content. So thank you so much again, everyone. I will be ending the session right here from my end. Appreciate your cooperation and your participation. And yeah, I really enjoyed today's session as well. Tomorrow we are going to, from tomorrow onwards, we'll work majorly on practicals. So that's what's going to happen. So be prepared, have a cup of coffee with you if you want, or rather have a glass of water. Keep yourself hydrated all the time. I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe on the internet. Take care of yourself, and bye for now. Over to you, Chandana. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Akash. It's a great session.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, I'll take your leave, guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. If you have any queries, please let me know in the chat box. I'm pasting the link again, feedback link. So everyone must and should you have to mark the attendance in the chat box. Any queries? Rashmika, please share recording and PPT. Rashmika, you will get in LMS. In LMS, you will get all the recordings and materials, PPT, whatever the links are there, you will get there. Venkat, you will get from LMS. There you can get materials and records. Yeah, I'm sharing you again that feedback link. How to register LMS. I'm sharing that registration form with you now. Please register there. I sent that registration link. You can get that. Login credentials you can get via email, Uma Maheshwari. I think YouTube people don't have any queries. No, within 24 hours, it will be uploaded by our team, Savita. Don't worry about that. I hope no more questions. Okay, then we'll wind up the session. Again, I'm sending the feedback link. Please make sure your attendance. Okay, bye. We will see you tomorrow on the same time.